Hello and welcome to Talking with the Angels. Today is Friday, May 25th, 2018. Yes, it has been a while since I've been on. Thank you for your patience. Spirit has been keeping me very busy in many different tasks, and as easy as this sounds, just to record some stuff, I find it very challenging. So thank you for being patient. I try to do this every week, but it's been since Mother's Day and almost 2 weeks. So thank you guys for being patient and joining me. The energies have been extremely intense this week. I have had to take some time off and do some spiritual maintenance. I posted on my business Facebook page, Talking with the Angels. And I really wanted to talk about it today, how energy affects people's mood. And it's fascinating to me how, I guess, people who don't believe in what I do and believe in the other side and that we are energy and we're all connected and everybody says like the spiritual stuff. I'm fascinated because I have seen it with people who do not believe this, and other people's mood and energy affects them. And they're completely not even aware of it. Don't know why they're in a bad mood, can't put their finger on it, not realizing that they were in a good mood, went to work, then somebody, came in, was having an awful mood, that they picked up their mood and it ruined the rest of their day. Not even aware of it. And sometimes when you point it out to people, they're like, that's not a thing. And I find myself in this spirit versus human experiences, and where I'm trying so hard to merge these two together and realize it's one of the same thing. And I've talked about this so many times in videos and on my podcast, and merging these two concepts together and realizing there is no separation. So I am going to be doing something different. New and something exciting coming to Talking with the Angels. I'm expanding my horizons a little bit so I'm able to touch more people's life and realize that I am a human and being, and sometimes I think people think I'm just off in fairyland and crazy and whatever other names people want to call me, and then I'm in Zen, and then I have people who are like, oh, okay, that's great, but her world must be peaceful. Nope. It's not always peaceful. I try and strive to live for it to be peaceful, but I do have a teenager, and sometimes she can be challenging. And I have a 10-year-old boy who's obsessed right now with Fortnite. Can I get an amen from all the other parents who are along me and this ride across the country? Video game is taking over our boys' minds and some girls. And I have a husband who is active and super busy at work. And we have active children. So I am a quote unquote normal person. And in the upcoming thing that will be announcing soon, I'm going to merge my two realities together so people can understand that you can do both and that there is no separation, and this is real life. So, off the topic, but talking about how energy affects us and our mood, Times Magazine posted a thing back in August 7th of 2017 and why the sun is so good for you. I found that fascinating article because you've learned this for, time, that it's important to get vitamin D and that the sun affects us. And then there's a lot of things that have been going on planetary aspect, and scientists have finally figured out that geometric storms do affect us, and it's been like long research that they've been doing. If you check out spaceweatherlive.com and talk about the chrono holes and geometric storm, and they kind of will, scientists are now digging in deeper and realizing that this, compared to the Earth, to the sun, and how we're so much smaller, and that how this kind of does affect us. And regardless if you believe in global warming and believe in what we're doing to our planet, we're kind of jacking our planet up. And you're seeing Mother Earth is kind of pissed. we've got volcanoes going off in Hawaii and earthquakes and um, we've had so many hurricanes over the past, year and natural disasters. And then you have human disasters. People are talking about the shootings and people. I was at a soccer game talking with, or excuse me, a baseball game. I can't keep my day straight in which practice I'm at. And they were just saying, because there was another shooting, and they go, I don't know what's going on with the universe, but this has got to stop. Every time I turn on the news, there's like another shooting, there's another, hate crime, there's this, and it was funny because these women that I was sitting with are Christian women, I think, that do not probably believe or agree with what I do. And I always say, let's put that aside, but let's come together in humanity and figure out what can we do to fix this. And I know I was turning on the news or flashing something, and some actress, I don't know who, I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, was talking about the school shooting and talking about how things have got to change. And they're in tears and they're pleading. And I look at around and I say, everybody's bleeding for things got to change. But what are you doing to help with the change? What actions are you taking to lead to a better vibration of the planet? So many people's heads are stuck in the sand because I almost feel like it's a fear of change or fearing of not knowing what to do, or things have spun out of control. And there's got to be enough people to say, I'm sick and tired of this, and come together and unite and have a united front for things to change. We're all in this state this week where these energies, minor solar flare happening, a lot more that people don't understand. Mother Earth is pissed. I felt it, see it. I had two birds fighting, like on my, when I was sweeping the porch. I'm trying to get the birds to stop fighting. Somebody said something about their animals acting up. Everybody's energies are on the rise, and everybody's reacting to the energies that are going around, and everybody's leading with fear and anger instead of coming within and figuring out what is the better solution. How can we move heart forward and move with love and figure out a better way to do things? I'm going to be talking kind of more about how do we find a greater peace and change when we live in a world of dysfunction, who lives in a world of in their head instead of in their heart. And I've meditated and I've sat and I've channeled and I've prayed and I said, how can my words, what can I do to help my listeners, my channeled messages, to touch more people's life so they can kind of stop and think about their actions and what they're presenting into the world and what they lead in their everyday life. So when we talk about, there is sometimes when the energies, and I'm talking about, and some people that might be listening to me and say, well, what do you mean by energies? Solar flares, things in the universe that we just don't know or see or have any aware of. And like, okay, well, that's too heady. Come bring back to Earth. Okay, somebody's pissed and they're arguing and they're upset because something didn't go their way. So let's start there. When you walk in a room, I've talked about this before, when somebody is ultra pissed and you want to stay away from them. Okay, what they do is they penetrate that outward and you're like, oh my gosh, they're giving me a headache. I can just, they're like over there and they're just pissed off. You feel that. Everybody feels that. When you walk in a room and when somebody's pissed at you or they're glaring at you, or all of a sudden you can tell when somebody's in a bad mood. And if you can't, I know people who, if you can't do this, Okay, well, ask the person next to you then. But it's a thing, and you can attract that. You can pick up on other people's energy. So it's like the yin and the yang. So how can we balance when people are, I want to say, want a diarrhea of misery on others? How do we not let that affect us? The big question of the day, how do we not let that affect our mood? How do we separate ourselves from feeling other people's emotions? Takes couple techniques. First is recognition, recognizing that they're having a bad day, and if they attack you or come at you or any of this, separate and say, or they, say something about your character or something, separate and say, I choose not to take that in. That is their opinion. They're entitled to it. I know that they may not be in a place of clarity and that they are attacking. Because when people are upset and they're angry, they just react. And then you put up a wall, so you can imagine putting up a brick wall, whatever you got to do, and separating yourself. Just like if you're in an office and you're in cubicles, you separate yourself. And saying that is their issue, and I choose and I choose and I don't allow it to penetrate my emotions, my mood. I don't give my power away to them. And that's what it is giving away power. And you recognize it and say, I do not allow them or their thoughts or their energy to penetrate my energy, me, my physical, my mind, and you separate that. That's the first thing you do. Because once you allow them to do it, you might as well just hand your power and give it to them in a suitcase. Because they've won. You stop it right at the point and say, I'm sorry you feel that way. And yes, everybody gets triggered. But you got to kind of pull yourself out and be like, wait a minute. This isn't me. I didn't do anything. This is on them. They're having a bad day. Chalk it up. But separate yourself. And then this is what I do when people may say, okay, it's too heady for me. Then you kind of have to do some cleansing, and you can do this by like wavings of hands. People use smudge. There's all sorts of other things you do. But what I like to do is I turn a mirror around my whole entire body, imagine mirrors, and I turn that outward. So they look at themselves. So anything they send back at me, it bounces right back off and sends it to the sender. And then I send them God's light, and I pray for them. And I said, Lord, put your hand on them. Fill them with your love and your light and your peace. Help them recognize that anything that they are going through, that you are there to help them through it, and they are not alone. And then I let it go. It takes practice because we're human and things set us off. And then the third thing, as I'm doing this, I don't know what maybe third thing. And then you go home, you lay in the bath, you have dinner, you do the dishes, you take a walk. You recognize maybe what the situation was, and you kind of evaluate it since you're in clear head and out of the situation. And think about the situation and what that situation taught you and what you learned from it.